Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. We are back this week with a jam-packed episode. We've got some great news to cover on this week's episode, as well as we are going to cover wide receivers and tight ends. It's an all pass-catching episode of Dynasty Happy Hour. And I just want to make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, A, thank you. B, hit the like button. C, subscribe. And D, we don't talk about the D right now. So let's get on with it. Tyler, James, you're both here this week, and life is good, right? Tyler got a haircut for the first time since pre-COVID, a professional haircut, not him buzzing his own head.
Yeah, not me buzzing. I actually have hair now. It is fantastic. I feel young again.
He almost looks like a human being. He's very close. Very close.
Very close. A little longer.
Yeah. A little longer. James,
he's got that Benjamin Button kind of thing going on right now, working backwards for him.
Now, can it do it to my body?
More importantly, your nose. James, how the hell are you doing?
That's it. Podcast is off. Podcast is done. We are canceled.
Off
I'm
the rails.
canceling this.
Off the rails.
We got the
already.
Viking strike. Oh, no.
Take my eyes, but don't go for the nose.
I mean, I can't get to the eyes because of the nose, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, my goodness. Doug's on fire tonight. We have to call it a Durr section.
Yep.
Dynasty.
I'm calling Durr up right now.
Yeah, you got to put in a Durr report.
Mm-hmm.
My weekend has been great. I spent a lot of time with the fam, a lot of time in the yard. It's springtime in South Jersey, gentlemen, and this guy loves his flowers. Took out some flowers, put in some new flowers.
We're going to talk about some flowers today.
And yeah, I'm ready to talk some flowers. Let's do it.
It might even blossom into a nice discussion.
Ooh.
We shall see. We'll see we'll see what it stems from. Pedal to the metal. Let's go.
Pedal to the metal. Let's go.
First,
oh, damn, you beat me to it.
First nose, then flowers.
Yeah, I'm on a roll. What can I say? I get
There's
on these comedic rolls.
There's a lot of people trying to, probably going to soil themselves after this. So
it's true. It's true. And if you're going to soil yourself, you know what you should do first? You should go on underdog.com. And you know why you should do that? Well, the real reason is because, when you use code DHH, we'll match up to $100 if you deposit. You got $25 laying around, they'll match 25, so on and so forth. You can do the math. You're all intelligent individuals watching this, except for a few. I see you out there. But daily best balls are a thing right now. So the drafts have begun. We haven't had the NFL draft yet, so it's actually really fun period of time to do best balls when players don't have landing spots, because you could get massive value at the end of a best ball draft. But not only that, baseball season just started in the last few weeks. There's playoff NBA, there's playoff hockey, there's even golf that you can do. Underdog is the best way to play daily fantasy. So once again, make sure you use code DHH and have up to $100 deposited and matched into your account, and then you can play right away. And speaking about getting paid and playing right away, boys, the Eagles signed a quarterback, Jalen Hurts, to a 5-year, $255 million contract extension. They went on record earlier this offseason saying an extension for Hurts was a priority. And guess what? They used words, and you know what they backed it up with? Actions. Hurts was heading to his 4th and final year of his rookie contract, and he'll now remain with the Eagles through 2028. This is perfect because there was rumors last year that Hurts is on a 1-year thing. We'll see how he does. And he was fantasy gold. He was real football gold. He was in the hunt for MVP, which Patrick Mahomes ultimately won. This is the best news for all involved. Would you agree, James?
110%. I've gotten offers today for Jalen Hurts, actually. It's one of our friends from the Lollipop Guild. Just got a statue made out of him down in Oklahoma. They were down there. It was a big ceremony. We're not a big fans of Kyler Murray. The guy tried to offer me Kyler Murray in a first for Jalen in my second. I was like, no way. No, this isn't going down.
A year ago, that was a possibility. That's the thing.
Possibly. I would have been happy, but you would have never have gotten that offer.
Yeah.
No.
So obviously Jalen Hurts, and I used our friends. We love our friends over at the Dynasty Trade Calculator, and I'm like, really? I really want to know, because it's been a while since I checked Jalen Hurts' value on Dynasty Trade Calculator, and in a super flex scenario, man, he is off the charts in the high 70s compared to a Kyler Murray that's down in the mid 40s.
He's what? He's going to be like what, QB3 right now, right after Mahomes and Allen.
Hurts, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're going to have to pay the cost to be the boss. And Murray's slipping down to the end of the QB1 era.
He's like 8
area
or
coming
9.
off the injury. I think he might even be lower than that in startups. I think he's like QB 10 to 12.
He's starting to become maybe a value, like trade
We'll
value.
see.
And I thought about that, Tyler, but I can probably I could trade somebody else off for Kyler Murray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was your big quarterback news. It's great to see him get extended and have some security, and now he can just ball out like he's been doing. I love that. We did have a trade this week. I love the NFL more and more now because they've become more like the NBA, and trades are an actual thing, even a week or two before the draft. We'll see more drafts, obviously, on draft night. There's going to be maybe one for Aaron Rodgers. Who knows? But the Pittsburgh Steelers went out and we'll see. The Pittsburgh Steelers went out and traded for veteran wide receiver Allen Robinson and a 7th-round pick from the Rams for a 7th-round pick. So this is pretty much a pick swap. The Steelers will only pay Robinson $5 million this year, with the Rams covering $10 million of his $15 million salary. Tyler, do you think Robinson's just going to go there and be big slot? He's going to be like Chase Claypool role?
Maybe. Everybody's saying like this is the nail in George Pickens' coffin.
Absolutely not.
This
Knock
is
it off with that.
ridiculous. Like
if it is, go buy George Pickens right now.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
yeah.
And I've tried giving 110, 109. Like if it's later first, easily. I'd rather have George
I
Pickens
don't want
in
anything to do with those picks right now. So
I'd
yeah.
rather have George Pickens in
Yeah.
every receiver. We'll talk about it.
Mhm.
Every receiver after JSN. Like there's nobody else I'd rather have. Like Pickens' upside is immense. Pickens is going to be the number 1 there, I think. And then Deontay is going to be all over the field. They use him as the Y.
What if
the X,
Deontay gets
the
traded?
slot. I don't see it. They just paid him last year.
I know.
I can't see it. Allen Robinson, they are literally giving nothing for, and he's a fine 3. He's going to take some coverages away. Maybe he kind of revamps his career, gets 800 yards total, 5 touchdowns. That's revamping his career because he has been doo-doo for like 2 straight years.
I think this trade is more about Kenny Pickett, and that Kenny Pickett needs all the help that he can get.
I was just about to say that when we might see more 3 wide receiver sets with
Fine with
Allen
me.
Robinson,
And Pat Frymuth to the moon still.
Pat Fryermuth doesn't affect. Yeah, I don't think Allen Robinson affects Pat Fryermuth at all.
I think to me it means if Matt Canada can't do anything with this offense, he's gone, and he should have been gone this year.
Oh yeah, he
But-
was cheeks last year. He was.
I mean, I
He's
just can't believe
bad.
that an NFL team actually would still have hope in Allen Robinson. Just
well,
to,
when
like,
you're paying $5 million for a guy that was an actual top,
he was a
10
sought after
yeah.
free agent last year.
yeah, on a whim though, on a whim.
It was mainly because he didn't want to be in Chicago, and
And I think the
people
Rams
thought-
wanted to double down and see what they had, and it just didn't work out for them. Like,
Yeah,
They had to
and-
go out and get OBJ.
I mean, I think Allen Robinson still has a little juice left, but not a wide receiver 1 or 2 juice.
if OBJ didn't tear his ACL in the Super Bowl, I don't think Allen Robinson would have been around. But
Hey, and OBJ and Allen Robinson same age, so
true.
let's not forget about that.
I don't think A-Rob's washed. I just saw a game when he was a Bear 2 years ago, and he still looked good to me. So
I mean, he really hasn't played since then. So
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's like, this gives him some fantasy life where he was kind of dead in the water. He was one of
And-
those. Just, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I
I
still
think
think
a
he's
lot of it-
talented.
a lot of it was Stafford too. You could tell him and Stafford weren't on the same page at all. Robinson, you look at, he's usually at the bottom of the screen when, they're going towards one end zone, and he's wide open. He does a curl route wide open, and you know where he's looking? He's looking at Cooper Kupp. So I think Allen Robinson is kind of
Mhm.
a victim as well. Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think he's Allen Robinson of old, but I think he's just fine, and he's going to play a perfect part for that team. And hey, maybe he comes in and says, "Hey, George Pickens, I know you're kind of, a diva a little bit off the field. People want to put that narrative on him. He's got a little
I don't think I just think he's a fiery,
Yes.
competitive guy. Like
100%. And maybe Allen Robinson can kind of help teach him because they're kind of similar players, but I think
Yeah.
Pickens has way more talent, of course. But
oh yeah.
I think this is good news for Pickens more than bad news. So
Yeah. Speaking of bad news, let's move
Ooh.
on to some bad news that we
talk
had
about
for the-
rolling the dice with
for
some
the
people.
yeah, really, right? Yeah. The Detroit Lions. There was a handful of suspensions laid down in the NFL for gambling this week. Obviously, we know what we saw last year with Calvin Ridley. He is now officially reinstated, so he's good to go. But we saw a receiver that many have pegged to be a breakout. He still could break out because his suspension was not a full year. That was Quintez Cephas, who was essentially released from the team right after. But this one was Jameson Williams. He got nailed for a 6-game suspension. So the Jameson Williams breakout is going to have to wait almost half the season to happen. And the Lions lost DJ Chark in the offseason. They did re-sign, or they got Marvin Jones back. Woo. Familiar face. So I think the Lions are going to be in the market for a receiver here in the draft, because now they're like, well, we're going to be out without Jameson for 6 weeks. They still have Josh Reynolds. Cool. I still see that they could go for a wide receiver as well, regardless.
Tight end.
Tight end too. But yeah, this is disappointing because, the kid's a rookie. When he flashed on the field, he looked really good in his limited amount of snaps. And his ADP was steadily creeping up, and now it's going to go back down again. So, James, what was your thoughts on Jameson Williams other than, dude, why you a bonehead?
Not so much. I mean, he's a bonehead, not as much as Quintez Cephas was, or some of the other players that got the full year that were actually betting on NFL games.
Yeah.
He was not, and they dug deep on this, and I respect the litigation part as far as the detective work that they did. He was betting on college games, but he was doing it from an NFL locker room or wherever property.
It was a locker room.
Yeah, and he was not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do it on the grounds. So he's a bonehead.
He must have missed that memo, apparently.
Yeah, he missed the memo.
Apparently there's posters, Pat McAfee, Adam Jones, and they talked with the Colts head coach on Friday, and they were even like, hey, are there still signs up in the locker room that said no gambling? And they all agreed. They're like, yep, they're still there. The PR guy was like, yep, they're all over the place in the locker room. You can't do that. You can't gamble. And even Pat McAfee said, hey, your retirement after your career is going to be fun because you can do all the gambling you want. And he's like, but if you do gambling, you're not going to have an end of a career because you're going to have to work forever because you're going to be out of the NFL and it's not going to be worth it. So, like, Jameson Williams, he's right with Pickens for me, though. Like, I would rather have Jameson Williams than 109, 110, 111, 112.
Yeah.
Give me Jameson Williams.
Yep, I agree with that. Some quick news. The Ravens re-signed quarterback Tyler Huntley to a 1-year, $2.627 million contract. He was a restricted free agent, I believe. So he's going to be the starter until Lamar. Whatever happens with him, that'll be interesting. That's another draft day thing to keep an eye out on. Brock Purdy told reporters that he avoided Tommy John surgery. I don't know that I believe all that.
Your elbow brace says otherwise.
Yeah, his elbow brace looks like classic vintage Gronk elbow brace.
RoboCop.
He looks like the rookie of the year in the cast. Do you remember that?
Maybe
they take the
ball
cast off and
50
he
yards
throws it.
Yeah, he reminds me of like
100
Cowboy
miles
Bob
an hour.
Orton back in the day, the wrestler that always had an elbow thing on.
The issue is I'd rather hear that it was Tommy John than not, because they're like, oh, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We don't really know. So this injury could actually affect him long term.
I think we'll know more if Trey Lance gets traded on draft day.
Oh, yeah.
If Trey Lance gets traded on draft day to one of these teams that he's rumored to go to, I know Tennessee is one and the Tampa Bay
Sam
Buccaneers
Darnold,
are another
the
one.
star.
I mean, that'll tell us more about the Brock Purdy injury. If Lance doesn't move, that tells me that like Purdy's not going to be ready, and the Niners are going to go roll out with Lance, and Darnold will be the backup there until Purdy's ready, or however that goes. Obviously, Trey Lance did get some hype when there was videos of him training with Patrick Mahomes. He changed his release point. A lot of people were into that. I'm into that as someone that throws a football fairly well. Those are things that I noticed that I like to see if he's improving his mechanics. Maybe he worked with Tom House, the mechanics king. Who knows? But yeah, so obviously Trey Lance is another quarterback to keep an eye on. The Cowboys exercised wide receiver CeeDee Lamb's 5th-year team option for 2024. It's a no-brainer move. He's 24 years old. He gets a fully guaranteed almost $18 million in 2024. He's set to make $2.52 million this season. So obviously the Cowboys, they're going to have to clear out some space for him next year. So they know that. They're not going to lock him up. He's a star. He's 3 straight 1,000-yard receiving years to start his career. He's a stud, and he's still super young. So, yeah, no-brainer, like you said there. I don't think there's much to talk about there. He's still a top 5 dynasty wide receiver. Couple small moves. The Eagles signed wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus, formerly of Tyler's Falcons. And the Chargers re-signed Jalen Guyton. He was their speedster from last year that got hurt. I expect them to add someone through the draft. If they don't, maybe they just go we got Jalen Guyton. But they're a team that is heavily rumored to draft someone with speed possibly to open up their offense for Justin Herbert a little bit more. Tyler, who would you like to see them? Jalen Hyatt, I see, gets mocked to them, and I don't like that, but that's just me.
He's the same player as Guyton, like so similar. And it's so funny. I actually messaged Jason Moore of the Footballers because on their podcast,
Name dropper.
he goes, he said he just runs weird. He runs silly. Hyatt does, and I'm like, I said the same thing on our podcast.
People didn't like that about Judy either. The way that he ran
Like,
was weird.
It's different. Like
His knees were like weird.
Hyatt looks like a hunchback. Like he's got no neck. The way he wears his helmet, I don't know what it is. His body looks so weird in football. I don't know what it is, but
You're one to judge weird bodies over there.
I saw the same thing. Hey, just because I sent you that picture, that was in confidence. Come on, man.
I appreciate you.
Apparently not.
Just not publicly. And I want to talk about things that I appreciate. You know what I appreciate? Our longtime sponsor, Trophy Smack. They've been with us through thick and thin, mostly thin. So I appreciate them for sponsoring us once again this week. They are the ultimate go-to if you need a fantasy championship, whether it's a belt, a trophy, a gangster grill. If you're Wood Grain Grippin and you love to scream out Mike Jones and you listen to Paul Wall, they've got that for you too. Absolutely everything, whether it's football, hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer, everything is completely customizable. Chef has one of their customizable belts with the Swedish Chef on it, which is absolutely awesome.
Birdie bird.
They have the right trophy for you. They also have the right trophy for them losers in your league. We all love the lovable losers. And when you use code DHH Ring, you will get a free $60 championship ring with the purchase of a trophy or belt. It's absolutely awesome. Highly recommend. Go on TrophySmack.com today. Code DHH Ring. Thank you in advance. All right, let's talk about rookie wide receivers. I'm not thrilled to talk about rookie wide receivers because this class to me is mid, as the kids say. That's no cap.
Mid.
I'm trying to be cool again to that reviewer. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You guys are so cool, so hip.
We are so cool. Just some dads just trying to be cool. What can I say?
You missed the drip, Doug. You missed the drip.
I'm in my Florida State hoodie, not drippy enough. Yeah, this receiver class, we're going to talk about it, but it doesn't give me excitement levels that we're accustomed to.
It's not last year. It's not the year before. Yeah.
To me, like Tyler said earlier, it's JSN and log out, but we're here to talk about some ADP, and that does start with JSN. Rumors for JSN today I saw on Twitter, and we all can take these loosely as it is a few days before the draft, and it is Twitter. But supposedly the Philadelphia Eagles have been doing a ton of work on Jackson Smith and Jigba. They picked with the number 10 overall pick. Personally, for fantasy, I wouldn't like it. I would hate it for Dallas Goedert. It's just more targets to get divvied up between A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Jigba, Goddard, whoever the running back is that's going to catch passes there. I would not like this for fantasy. Would it change Jackson Smith and Jigba's ADP, James?
I think it would hurt it a little bit, especially with all the company in the core. You know, we talk about Dallas Goedert being hurt the most by it, but I think it hurts everyone. We know AJ Brown would definitely get his targets. I'm not worried about that. If anything, the only value in Dynasty that I can see is it's a plus for Jalen Hurts, another weapon in his arsenal. The Eagles are trying to compete with top teams like the Chiefs, the Bengals. Those are the teams that they're worried about, and they see them surrounding their quarterback with some talent. I mean, let it be Kelsey or Tyreek Hill back when he played with the Chiefs, and then, of course, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for the Bengals. So I think it's a mass rush. It would be a power move sent out to the rest of the league, but I think they go running back in the draft.
You know what I think it would be if they did take JSN at 10?
Anyway.
The Philadelphia Eagles always have a backup plan. And to me, it could be like Devonta Smith has one more year. It would be his fourth year, and then they can pick up his fifth-year option. That's going to be expensive. So maybe if they did draft JSN, this is an all-in for this year. You get JSN. Maybe Devonta Smith, they're not able to retain him because of reasons. I mean, we all know the cap is pretty flexible. But like, say Devonta wants $20+ million a year. I don't know how they're going to be able to adjust to that with A.J. Brown getting paid, Goddard getting paid. They have some money spent on defense and on the O-line. So this could just be a really savvy organization who always tends to be two steps ahead. Look at their draft last year. They drafted Jordan Davis. They drafted Nakobe Dean. They lost defensive linemen. They lost the linebacker. Guess what? Here you go, guys. Boop, plugged in, and you should be good to go. This one would not surprise me if that is one of the reasonings for this move with JSN. I could see that happening. And if that's the case, like, yeah, his ADP is not going to change because he could be the man in like 2 years.
Yeah. Going to JSN, let's talk about the player. He's a great route runner, easy catch of the ball. Just everything is smooth. I think he's got a very high ceiling, high floor. His speed isn't fantastic, but I think he's fast enough. But man, that is not his game. It is just smooth, technical. He's gonna get like versus man, he's gonna beat you. Versus zone, he's gonna find the soft zone area, and he's just gonna sit there, and it's gonna be easy for the quarterback throwing to him. I heard Falcons are in play. Now imagine that offense, and if Ritter actually steps up a little bit, which I hear rumors that he's putting in some work and he's looking good.
Oh, James loves that. I just saw him perk
Take
up.
Drake London out of the slot role, please.
But then I also like if say Ritter falls, and they get a Drake May or Caleb Williams, put him right in this offense. Any quarterback can succeed with these offensive weapons.
They've got the beefed up line.
Yeah. So for me, I wouldn't drop him much due to the Eagles, but honestly, anywhere he goes, I think he's locked in. I have him ahead of Gibbs, behind Bijan, and one quarterbacks. So he's my 102. Yeah, I love the player. He's super safe, and he's going to be super fun in the NFL.
Yeah, with these other guys that are behind JSN, there's no like smash spot for me. Like if any of these receivers land, I mean, people are going to say Kansas City. Like, okay, like we thought that about Sky Moore too. Like
who
maybe...
I still have hope for. I
do too. I do too. But I just think as a rookie, like it's like when we said Hilaire, people put Hilaire over Taylor because of landing spot, not necessarily because of talent. Taylor Strong. So I think
Taylor
that's
Swift.
one of the. I look at all these receivers behind him, and like, there's no like plum landing spot for like huge success. I mean, maybe Minnesota for some of these guys.
I have a cutoff where it's cut off on the rankings, and it says
like underneath your sweatshirt.
It says trade. Yes, it says trade for 2020 rookies like Watson or Dotson if you can.
Oh, 2022 rookies, yeah.
Yep, 2022 rookies like Pickens. After JSN, do that. If you can't, maybe trade for 24 first. Just go back a year.
Sometimes it's the right move. Let's be honest. I mean, yeah, like you said, outside of like the 107 in Superflex, maybe 108. I'm just kind of like
this next guy for me at least. I have right there with Jahan Dotson
for Jordan Addison.
Yes.
See, I'm interested in Addison because the collegiate production was good, but his athletic measurables were
they're bad. Like they're worrisome.
Like I know the RAS score, like he was incredibly low on, and that's
he's not my number 2 receiver in this class.
And that's usually an indicator of success. It's been a very good metric. But I mean, we all see he won the Biletnikoff 2 years ago at Pitt. He moved to USC, didn't have quite the same season. To me, he's a mystery. I think if he goes to the Chargers or if he goes to Minnesota, that would be best case scenario for him. I do like him as a player. I think he's, again, a lot like JSN. He's faster than he lets on. He can use separation instead of pure speed.
Yep.
And like Justin Jefferson. Like Justin Jefferson's not the fastest guy in the league,
no.
But he's got the shake and the wiggle to break out and make himself open. Keenan Allen, same way. Like Keenan Allen's never a burner, but the guy's open all the time because he's technical and good at what he does.
Yeah, he's a lot lighter than we thought. I think 172 or something like that, which
a lot of these guys are.
Yeah, Devontae Smith kind of broke that mold. For me, he reminds me a lot of Calvin Ridley in his game. He can manipulate with his speed. You know, he may not be the fastest, but he can definitely manipulate from the line. Like he'll start off a little slow and then boom, his acceleration is awesome. You saw that in the combine. The combine, his 40, it was like 0 to 60, and then he was just at 60. So that might be because of 40
top end speed.
But man, I still like it. His tape is fantastic. He is a smart player, and like you said, he produced in 2 different colleges, which is a lot more harder to do than you think. So
yeah, totally different offenses, totally different quarterbacks. Yep. He did follow his receivers coach to both schools.
That is true. So I really like Addison. He's back into the first. Like I don't know where to slot these guys. There's a couple running backs I might have before him, like Charbonnet. and another running back if he's picked early. I don't know. But the tight ends are definitely the cream of the crop, and we'll get into those after the receivers.
Yeah, James, any thoughts on Addison?
Yeah, I did some digging on these first couple guys. I got lost in some tape and just went down a wormhole. And it looked like after he transferred, like something was missing. And then I
Kenny
dug
Pickett.
deeper on the numbers, and he really did
Target
go.
share.
His target share like went down like a proverbial cliff.
Well, Pitt didn't have much else at pass catcher.
26% down to a 16%, and then caught 59 balls. Like, you were going there for opportunity, and
He
then
went there with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams. I would say
And
that
coming
was
off the
reason.
Biletnikoff Award.
and I
Yeah.
think and you guys made the correct point. Like, he came off the Biletnikoff Award. He missed 3 games this season, and I think we forget that. So I think his numbers can be a little deceiving, and that's what I was trying to get to. Like, he had that limited
Probably would have
target
got closer
share.
to 80 catches if he
I
played
think
3
he
more
would have
games.
easily broke over 1,000 yards and probably had 3 more touchdowns. We'd be talking about 1,011 touchdowns. I think that's very doable in 3 games, and we'd be talking maybe him closer to JSN than we had originally thought.
He's gonna drop like Dotson did because just people don't like the metrics. People are gonna see that.
Once Dotson got first round capital, though,
But he was still an early second round pick. Like he wasn't a
it's
first
because
round pick.
it's because it was a deep class.
And and Washington Commanders was a bad landing spot, they thought. But I still think guys that are very productive like this in college are going to be productive in the NFL. There's going to be a guy that we're going to talk about that is super athletic and has some issues.
Yeah. The next guy in ADP, I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, but I saw some X-rays of Mr. Flowers, Mr. Zay Flowers, and he got that dog in him. It's true. X-rays confirmed. Zay Flowers is an absolute grinding dog. I love the way that he plays football. I watch BC. I'm there right in my backyard, and he's been the star of the team.
Literally in his backyard.
Yeah, for a few years now up in Chestnut Hill in Boston. And I like Zay Flowers a lot. He put on a lot of muscle before the combine, 13 pounds of muscle. He's the kind of guy that I think can make an impact in the right offense. But I also think he's the kind of guy that can have like a really long, successful career. I just don't see him having a super high ceiling, but he's a great route runner. Some people compare him to Antonio Brown. Stop.
Tyler Lockett. I mean,
yeah. I mean, stop with the Antonio Brown. Like that's like Antonio Brown's one of the best receivers ever. Like as much as crazy.
I
as he
had
is.
him comp to Jahan Dotson.
Okay.
Very similar in play. Breaks out of his.
Dotson plays bigger than he is, though. I don't know.
Really fast. Leaves the
Bingo.
defensive backs in the dust. Like, can do a lot of things from a lot of different places on the field, even though his size is a little bit smaller.
Dotson reminds me more of like Tyreek, a small guy that can make big boy plays. I don't see that out of Zay. Yeah, Steve Smith.
I see a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson and Zay Flowers.
Fair.
Except I actually think Wan'Dale Robinson athletically has more upside. Like athletically, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is shiftier. He's faster. Zay Flowers, to me, he's a 4-year guy, thicker build, great hands. He tracks the deep ball well for his size, but when it comes to contested catches, he's not going to go up and get it. He's not going to go up and take it. You see it a couple times, but most of the time he's going to get out muscled. I think that, like Doug said, upside limited due to his size and style of play. He needs to land in the right offense. Kansas City, I don't think if they would have never taken Sky Moore, I think Kansas City would have taken a chance on this guy. But I think the fact that they have a similar player in Sky Moore, they're not going to. Minnesota would be a good option. He could fit that style. But yeah, like he needs the right offense to be a productive player. Could he be like a Jalen Waddle? But I think Jalen Waddle has a little more upside wide receiver in him, but they have similar styles of play, I think, Waddle and Zay Flowers, but that's the ceiling if Zay Flowers hits.
Yeah.
Not Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett is actually a good comp, but I think Lockett has better tracking ability, and Lockett
always undervalued.
Lockett,
they share that in common, I guess.
That's true.
Let's move on to the number 4 receiver in ADP. This is my first, this is my avoid the Noid of this draft season. I don't want anything to do with Quentin Johnston. To me, inconsistencies, one big year, The TCU team competed for the college title, so I know he got some extra pub. Just watching him, I just feel like I've been burned by this kind of receiver way too many times, and he doesn't jump off the page to me. I know he's got some, a little bit of wiggle. He's got speed. His hands are inconsistent. I don't know. It's more of a gut feeling that Quentin Johnston is going to be a bust than anything else. Like, throw the metrics at me, whatever. It's just how I feel. I'm just avoiding him because I just see him and I go, yeah, I don't think he's the one for me. James, what did you see when you watched some Johnston tape?
There's no doubt that the kid has physicality, but I think he is lazy, dude. I really do. You could see it on blocking schemes.
Lazy would say you're not working on your craft or anything. I would say he plays.
Did you see him laying on his back and catching footballs from the jugs machine?
I know he's lazy on the field. All right, so maybe not lazy. Maybe he lacks a sense of urgency on certain offensive
like when he's
schemes.
Not getting the ball,
like when he's not going out and actually catching the ball, you can read it
like a little Randy Moss
in his setup before when he's on the line of scrimmage. Maybe that's what I meant. And then like when he's supposed to be blocking for the running back, he's like, yeah, you know what? I got to go grab this sandwich. I'm really hungry right now.
Yeah, if the ball's not coming to him, he's not interested.
Yeah, he's more of a 50-50 ball type receiver. And I think he's lighter than a typical alpha wide receiver.
Is he Brashad Perryman?
So I do want to say Zay Flowers had a little bit of taking plays off when the ball wasn't going to him. There was multiple times I saw Zay Flowers like jogging.
But we're talking about Quentin Johnston.
I know, but if we're gonna knock somebody, we got to knock.
Why are we going backwards?
So like Zay Flowers, there was a play I was watching, and it was actually in one game. I've seen it multiple times. He ran straight towards the corner, jogging, kind of getting in his way. And then guess what happened? The play fell apart. And then he looked and he saw. So he's like, oh, crap, I got to move. And then he started sprinting. Quentin Johnston does it too. But you know what? Quentin Johnston was also not targeted as much as he should have. They didn't go to him as much. Kendre Miller was actually a huge part of this offense when you're watching tape. They used him a ton. Mm-hmm. And Quentin Johnston, I get he fell apart at the Georgia game. I get he has issues. He's a prototypical size X. He has awesome movement for a big guy. This guy can stop on a dime. He's got really good athletic traits. I do like that. I have him as 3 above Zay Flowers just because of upside.
Ceiling.
I don't want to. I would rather have George Pickens than any of these guys. I'm saying if push came to shove and I had a gun to my head and I had to decide between one of these two, I'm going Quentin Johnston just for the upside because guess what? Zay Flowers is a fine wide receiver 3 for your fantasy team. But you know what I'm going?
The floor is the basement.
I'm going for upside here. And that's what I want. If I'm picking at 10, 11, or 12, I won the championship. And guess what? I'm going for upside. I already got a team. Give me a guy that can slam dunk.
I mean, the guy with the 101 has a team too. It's just not as good.
That's true. But he's got prototypical size. He's a body catcher. But honestly, everything you see in this offseason, he's really working on hands catching. And honestly, everything I've seen on tape, the body catching I think is over pushed because he does catch with his hands very well. And they're quick hands. They're hands that show up late, which is what you want to see with outside receivers because you don't want to give the cornerback any kind of hint at where the ball's coming from. So they're really quick hands, and I think that causes drops too. He's almost late to the ball, too late, so he puts his hands up a little too much. He's 20 years old. I think he can learn and grow. He's very young. He's got elite traits and size to become a wide receiver 1, but it is not there yet. So if he is pushed into the wide receiver 1 role, no, thank you.
Struggle bus. N'Keal Harry.
He is a lot like Christian Watson last year. People had doubts on his route running, doubts on his hands. Christian Watson was a body catcher. That's all you saw on tape. But hey, if he lands with the right offense.
I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers yelling at you every day. You're probably going to get good eventually.
Yes. And I mean, Christian Watson, what happened his first throw to him?
Dropped it.
It dropped for sure touchdown. And guess what happened? He worked on it, and he dominated it later on in the season. Quentin Johnston, I get the knocks, and I get the Big 12, I get the TCU, but you know what? Like I said, in this type of class, I'm shooting for the one guy who has some major upside if he hits.
All right, let's keep it rolling with the wide receiver 5 right now in ADP. It's 21-year-old Josh Downs out of North Carolina. He's 5'9". I think he plays bigger than that. I don't want to compare every receiver in this class to Jahan Dotson, so I won't. But I really like Josh Downs' tape. You know, he did it with over multiple years. He's been successful. He's great in the red zone for a smaller receiver. So to me, that means like he knows how to get open. He knows where there's going to be gaps in coverage. And kind of like Julian Edelman used to be a weapon in the red zone. Like he just knows where to be and how to move when a play breaks down, and he capitalizes on it. But he can also make plays downfield. He can make them over the middle. For me, Josh Downs, I think he's one of the safest receivers for me. A lot like Zay Flowers. Like I know Tyler's shooting for ceiling, but ceiling, when you shoot for ceiling, sometimes it can bite you in the ass. For me, like I don't necessarily go for ceiling guys. I want guys that could have a really safe floor and be in the league for a long time. I've drafted the Denzel Mims of the world before, and they're rotting on my roster, and I completely wasted a pick on them. But a guy like Downs, a guy like Flowers, I like because I feel that they have a role in today's NFL, even though they're a little bit smaller and lighter, because that's kind of what we're seeing, especially in this draft class. This is why Quentin Johnson might be a wide receiver drafted in the first round, because outside of him, there's some other big guys, but they don't have the same type of athleticism that he has. I think if Johnson came out last year, we wouldn't be talking about him as a first round pick. To be completely honest,
and
but
he couldn't.
Agreed. Quentin
Right.
Johnson was my fifth wide receiver. I actually have Josh Downs a little bit lower as well. He's my sixth. I have him
He's my
like
six twinsies.
twinsies.
Oh,
I think he has a similar play style, not necessarily physicality, compared to Wandale Robinson. Very shifty, but like you said, I think he needs more of a system that can build towards his skills, and his size may have effects on his run blocking capability. So I think it's going to be a little bit more time for him to get acclimated to the NFL, to pick up more traits to his game before we see him on the field. So he's almost like his ceiling to me, I guess he would be a mid-range wide receiver 2 ceiling.
Yeah, it's interesting. He didn't have any top 30 visits. So either the NFL thinks either that the NFL knows what they know about Josh Downs and they know he's a solid player, or we might see his draft capital. A lot of people have been like, oh, he'll get picked in the second round. You know, that's something that's going to be interesting to watch on day 2 of the NFL draft. I don't think he's going to go in the first, but you never know. If he doesn't go in the second round, like you're going to hope he goes in the third, because if he doesn't go in the third, I mean, there's a couple outliers here and there outside of the third round, but it's very few. It's Amon-Ra, like some other guys. So that's going to be something to monitor. I still like Josh Downs a lot as a player, so I'm hoping that the NFL does too, and he goes somewhere in round 2.
Yeah,
would be perfect.
Your comp for Jahan Dotson spot on, because Dotson plays.
I said I didn't want to comp him.
He's a good.
But I mean,
that's
it's very
probably,
similar.
That's probably the best comp, because Josh Downs can go up and get the ball. His contested catch rate is fantastic for his size. So
yeah, he's nasty.
That is something to look at. And Steve Smith, there's another player that he likes on here around the same size, because all these guys are almost similar. They're almost clones. He plays a little like Steve Smith, just not as explosive. And he played with Howell and May and connected very well with both of them. So that's something to look at too. Somebody that can work with multiple quarterbacks back-to-back years and be successful. I like that.
All right, the next guy has been a bit of a Twitter darling in the last couple of weeks, getting some hype, and that is Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma.
Love him.
I like Mims a lot. He's 5'11", so he's a little bit bigger than some of the other guys here, but he plays like a little bit smaller wide receiver because he's fast.
This is who Steve Smith said it was just like him.
Yeah, I like Marvin Mims a lot. I have a couple of picks in the early mid-second round, and that's a guy that I'm hoping makes it to me. I think the NFL likes Marvin Mims a lot, so I'm not going to be surprised whatsoever when he goes in the second round, and I think that's probably pretty realistic, especially in the years past where we've seen wide receivers in the second round like, I don't know, Tutu Atwell and whatnot. Marvin Mims is a way better prospect than that. So I liked his tape a lot. I think he's got a strong pair of hands. He's got speed to burn. But that's not his only game. Like, he can do a little bit of everything. So I like that about Mims. James, what did you think about Marvin, not Denzel Mims?
Well, I was just about to say I've been burned by a man named Mims before, and I'm not sure if I want to repeat that mistake, because it's still like branded on the right side of my butt cheek when, my wife is wondering why I still have Mims in a heart next to my butt cheek. Anyway, too much.
You can change it to moms really easily.
Yeah, mom.
What mama don't know.
Yeah,
just change it to moms. You take the I and you do like a backward C. You got moms. You're good.
I mean, It's hard not to, though. It's hard not to go with Mims as a good prospect that actually may have an effect for fantasy football. He could play anywhere on the field. He lines up in all situations. I can easily see him as a immediate mid-range wide receiver 3 coming out of college. Like, it all depends on landing spot, obviously, and opportunity, but he can play from anywhere on the field, like I just mentioned. So that gives him a boost for potential playing time right there. And I don't know. I had it on my notes where, like, this may be the end of my 2022 scouting class, or 2023 scouting class. I'm sorry. Because, like, I there's not enough wide receiver talent after this. But
There's a couple hidden gems.
but he was my wide receiver 8. Mims was my 8.
He's 5 for me. And high school prospect. I mean, this guy destroyed high school football.
Yeah, he was a big Devy guy when he first came out. Yeah.
Could you imagine going to Oklahoma and being like, hey, I got this Caleb Williams guy. He's going to be awesome. Boom. Dylan Gabriel comes in, and he's your quarterback after Lincoln Riley leaves, and you're just like, what happened?
Didn't he have fake Mahomes as a quarterback for a bit there? What's his name? Rattler?
Yes,
Rattler, Spencer.
Rattler. He had
Fake
Rattler,
Mahomes.
too.
He's forever known as fake Mahomes.
Baby Mahomes?
Fake baby short Mahomes. Yes.
Yeah.
I loved Rattler, too.
I know you did.
It was all
What
attitude.
happened to him?
All attitude. The guy was cocky.
He's somewhere else now.
And he's in South Carolina actually reviving his career.
He's a Gamecock.
He is.
Bacaw.
So for me, I like Mims. He's not only great with speed, he's also a great route runner. He needs I do think he's going to be a better pro than he was a college player. I think he's still got major upside. And even if he falls, he's going to be a huge target for me. I would have him closer to Zay Flowers than I would Josh Downs. So I am a big fan of Mims. Mims the word.
Yes. Let's move on to the next receiver here at the wide receiver 7. And this is, outside of Quentin Johnston, might be the most polarizing receiver in this class. He came off the Biletnikoff Award last year. It's Jalen Hyatt. I don't know. Everything for Jalen Hyatt's a guy, unless he slips in our drafts, I'm probably not going to select.
I don't even have him in top 10.
I don't blame you. For me, at ADP, give me Cedric Tillman. Like, that's what it's gonna go. Am I gonna have a early second round pick, or am I gonna draft Cedric Tillman somewhere in the mid to late third?
Hyatt's
Possibly.
ceiling is hopeful Will Fuller, and his
For the 1 year
floor-
that Will Fuller was good.
and he could be a healthy Will Fuller, but not good in the short game. Like,
Will Fuller is still recovering from that finger injury.
and
It's
if
crazy.
if you look at the wide receiver coach, there's actually a lot of stuff on this. Anybody who's played under this wide receiver coach, Baylor receivers,
Don't you
has-
put that shade on Tyquan
has
Thornton.
not done good in the NFL. Hyatt and Tillman are there. Yes, I do like Tillman, but
Yeah.
Hyatt is one of those guys that you better land the right offense. He's going to be a better best ball guy, and you're going to be scared shitless week to week putting him in your lineup because you'll be like, I'm either getting 4 points or I'm getting
15.
20.
Yeah.
So, like, no, thank you. He's going to be drafted way earlier than I want. He's
Yeah,
gonna
the
be
splits when Tillman and Hyatt were on the field, they're not good for Hyatt. Like, Tillman was the guy. So,
Tillman came in this year, and he was supposed to be this Tillman should have been up by Quentin Johnson. Like, he was supposed to be this awesome player, spread offense, guy that just bursts on the scene. But he got hurt. But he's still my wide receiver 7.
all right, let's. Oh, go ahead, James.
I'd like to add something because out of that whole conversation, you said something by right team, and I see him getting mocked in a last seven round mock draft. He was getting mocked to the Giants in the first round. Now, what team needs a speedster on the outside more than the Giants?
Darius Slayton, man.
Let's
Why do
be
you
real.
hate on the slate?
All right, this is a guy that can go out and have a 5 touchdown game with 6 receptions. Can take the top off the defense like immediately. And
you seen
I
some of
think
his
he's my
plays?
number 4, man. I think he has the most
What?
upside. Yeah, I think he does. He's shown that he could be the alpha on the field, just like almost
I'm
like a
gonna show you
T. Higgins.
Two pictures. Denzel Mims and Jalen Hyatt. What's the difference?
Oh, you're wrapped in your own.
I'm playing with your emotional.
You're playing with my
strings right now.
emotions, man.
Denzel
I-
Can
Mims.
you
I know
change
he was
Mims
a-
into Hyatt on a tattoo? That might be more challenging. Just go with
Yeah.
moms.
Moms. Then Zach Wilson's kind of in your alley.
I'm
And
getting
you have matching
trashed here.
tattoos. Then you have matching tattoos with Zach Wilson.
I think I maybe I got polarized with the fact that he would have a lot of wide receiver opportunity on the Giants in a faster paced offense. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's fair.
Maybe
Nope.
I'm wrong. But
Nope.
yes,
You-
Will Fuller was a great comp.
You keep.
I
you
think
keep him at 4.
He
'cause
uses
I-
his speed to create the separation. He's not a
Right.
50-50 guy.
Let's move it on. I want to lump some of these guys together because we're running a little bit long, and I want to talk about this tight end class because it is awesome. So the next guys, we talked a little bit about Cedric Tillman. He's your wide receiver 8. Rasheed Rice from SMU is currently wide receiver 9.
Gross.
Keyshawn
Pass.
Yeah.
Pass. Butte is wide receiver 10.
Too many
He's 8,
issues.
he's 8 for me.
I have
still-
I have
still have
You
Butte
still
at
have
11.
faith in Butte, huh? All right.
If he can actually put in some work, love him.
Yeah, we shall see. It'll be interesting to see what his draft capital is. That's going to be a big indicator for me, I think. Tyler Scott at wide receiver 11. Xavier Hutchinson, who a lot of people really like from Iowa State. Big-bodied receiver 6'2 at wide receiver 12. A.T. Perry from Wake Forest, Senior Bowl week winner, I believe. Wide receiver 13. And then Jonathan Mingo was his name-o in Pete Schrager's punchable face mock draft. He had Mingo going in the first round, which to me, I was like, whoa, that was a bit of a head turner. Seeing Mingo mocked in the first round.
Yeah.
He's definitely gaining some steam, but James, you
I have
words.
him inside my top 10. I actually
Okay.
have Mingo at 9. And like he finds his top speed very, very quickly, and then continues to play at that speed. Like he's just like the snap of a finger and he's gone. His routes need a little bit more attention to detail. I mean, they're going to need to be cleaned up a little bit, but works back aggressively to the quarterback, bails out his quarterback. That's something you want to say. He's playing with the full team mindset of the game. He's not just worried about, let me run my route and just stop. I think he's going to make use of his size and his hands and his strength as a run blocker. So, yeah, I'm good. I like him.
All right, so you like Mingo, and then after that we've got Tank Dell, who's a fun playmaker, but again on the small side, only 5'8". Outside of that, though, there's a lot of guys, and I'll point out some that I like as later that I'm going to be interested in. Again, it's draft capital. I'm interested in the guys like Jaden Reed from Michigan State at 5'11", had a really good combine. Michael Wilson from Stanford, I like a lot. Strong hands. He's a little older, so I know Tyler will be off on him. And then last but not least for me, at wide receiver 26, this was a bit of a shock. It's Puka Nacua out of BYU.
Yeah, you took my guy.
Puka. I like Puka a lot. Big body receiver, can separate. I think he's pretty versatile. So again, draft capital for those guys is going to be super important. But for me, like all probably rookie 3rd to 4th round targets that I'm looking at. Tyler, who do you have outside of the top? We talked about the top 15. Who do you have outside of that you're really interested in?
I'm not sure who you said. I had to go do some.
I covered Jaden Reed, Michael Wilson, and Puka Nacua.
Okay, Trey Palmer, massive
Speed.
fan of.
Speed.
4.33, 5 big time recruit, 5-star recruit went to LSU. LSU, we all know what happened with them. They kind of fell apart after the championship game. Coach O left. They
lost the whole team to the NFL.
Pretty much. This guy was the next thing, and then Booty came in and kind of took over. Palmer transferred last year, so in 2021 he entered a transfer portal, and 2022 season he was in 71 catches, 1,043 and 9 touchdowns with Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska's not good.
Nebraska is bad. Like they used to be the prime competition. They are not good
in the
now.
90s.
Yeah,
with Tommy Frazier.
Man, his speed is unbelievable. He's so quick. He's fast. He's quick. He's got all the skills there. If he works on his route running, this guy could be a slam dunk later on. I really like him. I think he could be a guy that is an earlier pick than we think. Kind of like what's his name from Ole Miss? Who am I thinking of? Jonathan Mingo, who's getting all the hype right now.
Yeah,
we
James
just
talked
talked
about
about
Mingo. Yeah.
But Trey Palmer for me is that guy. If he's like a 4th round pick, my ears are perking up a little bit, and I'm really looking into him. Like I said, Booty is my wide receiver 8. I love his freshman tape. It's fantastic.
He might end up becoming a value in rookie drafts.
Yep. If he can just keep his head straight, I think he's more of a diva than he is a head case. I do think that's it. Because I forgot what podcast I heard it on. They're like, you're 18 years old. Why wouldn't you, you're going to be interested in going to, a sex party? That was the thing.
I mean, I'm 45, shit.
And that's the knock on him. The issue is he came off a huge year, and now all of a sudden, people are just all over his personal life, and it's not like losing his mind Antonio Brown stuff. It's just things he's interested in that people think are weird, which
like cocaine.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
what?
that no,
I'm
not that. Actually,
So weird.
My sleepers after I have Jalen Hyatt as my first sleeper after my top 10. So
Oh,
I love
Yeah.
it. The shade.
there's a couple. Parker Washington out of Penn State, I really like. Penn State receivers, and I just love their style of play. They're good route runners. They're ready for the NFL. Xavier Hutchinson for Iowa State is a guy that I think is like a Jacoby Myers type player.
Yeah, that's a good comp. Solid.
Average.
Yeah.
Tyler Scott is another guy that
Don't
a lot
take all of
people
them. Jesus. Leave
yeah.
James
I mean,
out.
he's
my
just
favorite.
going through
My
all
favorite.
all his.
I like the
favorite.
kid Andre. What's his name from
My
Princeton?
favorite.
I like
Charlie
him.
Jones from
Don't
Iowa.
forget Raheem Jarrett from Maryland.
Charlie
like
Jones
Justin
from Iowa is
Shorter.
my favorite. I love Charlie Jones tape. This guy is a fat white guy. Or fast white guy.
We're talking about tight ends in a minute, Tyler. Jeez.
Charlie Jones. Everybody's like, oh, Alex Pierce all over. No, come on. Don't do that. He's a better Jalen Hyatt. That's what he is. Charlie Jones is
Fair.
a better Jalen Hyatt.
Oh man, that's just a little overkill now.
Keep
All right.
your eyes on Charlie Jones because he lit it up in the combine too.
James, is there any receivers left that you would like to
I
talk
don't
about?
think there's anybody left that I wanted to talk about. I'm glad I got to talk about Jonathan Mingo while Tyler was doing whatever Tyler was doing there.
Yeah, that is very
Um,
true.
Yeah. But no, Xavier Hutchinson, I'm okay with taking a shot on him later on in your drafts. Mingo is climbing up a little bit. I think everybody's on him. The buzz
If
is
he gets first
surrounding
round
him.
draft capital, it'll be with a playoff team.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Trey Palmer was definitely a guy that I wanted to think about. And then I'm hoping Cedric Tillman, like the fact that he was injured and missed part of his last season, I hope he drops in NFL drafts a little bit so he can drop a little bit in fantasy drafts a little bit.
Rumor has it second round.
See, that's too early for me.
Yeah, it'll be this second round this year is going to be interesting because I think we're going to see a good amount of wide receivers, and I think we're going to see a slew, 6 to 7 tight ends in the first 2 rounds.
I
is
think
what I've been
Cedric
hearing.
Tillman. I think if Cedric Tillman didn't get injured, he'd probably be top 3 wide receivers in this class.
That was my transition to tight ends. All right, before we move on to tight ends, actually, let's talk about Manscaped. You've got a large man, maybe 6'6", 6'5".
Now he's got a tight end.
They're playing tight end. You know what they need to do on game day? They need to shave it down to get those pads on and to look prime and look beefy. And you know how they're going to do it? They're going to have Manscaped do it for them. They're going to have the Lawnmower 4.0 in their locker room with the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer. The coaches use that one. The kids don't. They don't have those problems yet. And you know what they're going to do after the game? They're going to get in the shower. They're going to be all shaved up. They're going to use the crop preserver, the cleanser, the reviver. Because you know what happens after a game if you're Keishon Butte? Maybe you go to a sex party. We don't know. But if you do that, you want to look, you want to feel, you want to smell as fresh as Zay flowers when you're out there. So make sure you go on Manscaped. Use code DHH for 20% off at checkout. Manscaped, your balls will thank you for it. Now, let's talk about my favorite position in fantasy football.
Oh. I mean, we're just talking about sex parties and smelling like Zay
No,
flowers,
tight
and then
ends.
That's
then
a
you went
separate
right into your
podcast. I'm trying to
favorite
clear it.
position.
I'm trying to clear it through DHHR.
and my mind went out the window. Thanks,
Yeah.
Doug. Appreciate
DHHR, we'll see if we can add a subset episode somewhere, somehow. It's rookie tight end. I absolutely love this class. I think this class could be a bit of a reset button at the position in the next couple of years because we have some aging tight ends that are kind of going to work their way out. With these guys, with the amount of 6 to 7 possible tight ends going in the first 2 rounds, it could be an absolutely epic class. I know last time is 2017 when we thought like OJ Howard, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, guys like that. And not all of them will hit right away. They got that in there for you. Not all of them have hit right away. So we know it can take time at the tight end position. So I don't think this is going to happen in year 1. And I think it'll start more in year 2. But to me, this is a generational, is that word, tight end class, because we have some freak athletes. We have size. We have speed. We've got guys that are going to be awesome in most of the offenses in the NFL. And starting off with tight end 1, he's not my tight end 1, but he is the tight end 1 in ADP right now. It is Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. Tyler, I will let you talk about Michael Mayer. We all know the history of Notre Dame tight ends in the NFL. It's been a pretty good one, with the exception of like Colby Fleener, although he had one good year.
Colby Fleener was Stanford, but okay.
Oh, he was Stanford, wasn't he? Who was the guy that was like Colby Fleener out of Notre Dame? Eifert.
You got Kyle Rudolph, Eifert. You have Komet. Chase Claypool was actually labeled like a tight end.
Okay.
Wide receiver tight end.
I don't know why I was thinking of Colby Fleenballs. Anywho,
I mean,
so what do you think about Mayer? I think he's maybe the most complete tight end in the draft, but that doesn't always make you fantasy relevant.
Yeah, for me, you would think, oh, tight end fan, he's going to be tight end 1. No, he's my tight end 2A. I've got another guy that I absolutely love.
This class is tough to grade.
For me, he's a prototypical
rank,
Y tight end. Very high recruit, one of the highest recruits to come out in a long time for tight ends. He's not a great athlete, not one bit. I know Jason Moore and Mike on the Footballers compared him to the guy with a nail in his head and Happy Gilmore chasing Shooter McGavin down the, and I cannot unsee that every time I watch.
Unsee it now.
You can't unsee it. But that is his style. He's a
road grader.
He's a big monster after the catch. He's not a guy that's going to catch it and then fall. You're going to need about 2 or 3 guys to take this guy down because he is not going down easily.
Do you think he's a less athletic version of a guy like Gronk? Like a road grader, blocker, can make moves after the catch, good strong hands, but he doesn't have that
the thing is
big playmaking ability.
The thing is, though, I think Gronk, sadly, might be a tad faster, but people are really knocking Mayer for how bad he is athletically. He is a very smooth route runner.
Watch the tape.
He is a very good player. He knows how to get open. He's good after the catch. I think people are knocking him just because he's been such a highly touted player for a long time that they're just
his name gets boring.
They're bored with him.
Yeah.
So for me, I've seen a lot of other podcasts talk about Mayer being he is elite still. Don't knock him because his athleticism isn't up there. He is a very good tight end. And people said Jason Witten. No.
Zach Ertz wasn't the most athletic guy.
Zach Ertz wasn't athletic, but Michael Mayer, I love his old school style. He's just he's going to put you in the dirt if he can. And he loves doing that.
That's why he reminds me of Gronk a little bit, because they would put Gronk in as a 6th blocker, and he would block the living crap out of anyone that was in front of him. And Michael
100%.
Mayer has that element to him.
100%. And for me, I think he's still going to be a better pro than a college player, even though his college production was awesome. I think people are undervaluing Michael Mayer just because there's a couple other tight ends that are insanely athletic.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The number 2 tight end right now in ADP, a lot of people have them as their number 1. It's Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, 6'4", 246. A little bit older for Tyler. He's 23.
No, he's my tight end 1.
Yeah, Kincaid, if you look at his tape versus some of the big competition, just absolutely freaking dominated those games. And that's what stands out with Kincaid, is the kind of weapon that he can be in the NFL. James, when you watch Kincaid, what were your thoughts?
Who'd you see? I want to know that first.
Who do you see?
A little bit of Dawson Knox.
Okay. He is the closest I've seen to Kelsey watching tape. Stylistic wise, just how he plays.
I mean, he plays very amped up. He's all about the game. You could tell that. But he's zeroed in. He's focused. Zero focused in. He's awesome.
He's got an action movie name too. Dalton Kincaid seems like an action movie character.
He is the Kincaid.
Smooth.
He's young in the game, and that's the crazy part. He only played 1 year of high school football.
Did he play basketball though?
Yeah, he
Can
played
we
a
confirm that?
lot of basketball.
Of course, Doug.
And when someone plays basketball and translates to tight end, what usually happens? He gets that Jimmy Graham kind of effect.
So he also had a back injury, a small fracture in his back. James, You've had fracture in your back. You've had some back problems.
Yeah, but I don't play like Dalton Kincaid does.
Does that worry you a little bit for
No,
future?
no, not after watching his tape and watching him at the combine, pro day, etc. Like I think he's fine,
Well,
and
he
I
he
think his
hasn't had either one of those,
Yeah,
so
he didn't have a pro day. He didn't have a
that's the
combine.
knock on him is we don't know like what his measurables are.
The fracture. Apparently, doctors have come out and said they're not worried about it. Teams have come out and said, they've gotten the clear from medical, so maybe it's not a big issue. But like Gronk had a back. Didn't he have a back injury coming out of college too?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons he slipped to where the Pats got him.
Yes,
and he had a chronic back injury. It wasn't like
Yes.
a one-time thing.
I do think Kincaid could be somebody who lands with the Packers at pick. I think 15.
Yep.
He's gonna
He
go
just
earlier
visited
than
them, didn't he?
expected. Yes,
I believe so,
he's
yeah.
gonna go a lot earlier than
Packers
expected.
are in on a pass catcher. I think it's either JSN or Kincaid there.
So for me, he reminds me a lot of Gesicki, but he can actually play all downs. He can block. Gesicki, when it comes to blocking, he's like, nope, I'm out. Don't want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's the closest to Kelsey I have seen on tape, and he just inched past Mayer for tight end 1. But you know what? If I lose it on Kincaid and I have to take Mayer, fine. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. The tight end 3, I think, is a very, to me, polarizing because I can see him being a real fantasy asset, and I can also seeing him.
Is it the same 3 I have?
It's Darnell Washington out of
Yeah.
Georgia, and athletic freak for a man of his size.
Jesus.
Again, he is a road grader type of blocker like Michael Mayer. To me, this is going to be interesting to where he lands on draft day. Is he going to land on a team that already has an established tight end and he's going to be used more in the blocking game? Or is he going to land on like a Bengals where they can use him more in the passing game? For me, I'm not completely sold on Darnell Washington for fantasy. I think he's going to be a really good tight end in the NFL. I'm just a little skeptical about what his usage is going to look like. I think he has a nice ceiling, but compared to some of these other guys that are right behind him in ADP, I don't know. He's fascinating to me, not only because of the athleticism, but like
I'm
trying to think of a comp of like a really hyper athletic tight end that just didn't do it in fantasy.
Mercedes Lewis. That's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
easy.
that's
That's
one.
Juwan
easy call.
Johnson.
That's
Brandon Pettigrew. Like, I don't know.
Pettigrew was very unathletic, so that's
Yeah, that's true. He just had high draft capital.
with Washington. I think the issue was, you go to Georgia, you watch his tape. Brock Bowers is the
He's
tight end
great.
to watch. He's a freaking receiving threat, and that's the easy go-to. Like Georgia's like, okay, we're gonna give it to this guy. Washington came second fiddle, but when he got his chances, he showed it. And that's, I
Yeah.
think, where we're coming down with the issue. And we saw it in the combine. Washington destroyed this combine.
He's a freak. Yeah.
He's a freak of nature. He's a guy with that size of frame. He shouldn't be able to move like he does, but he does.
Mhm.
And I think he's going to be a better pro once again than he was in college because college did not use him right.
Yeah.
I could be talked over putting him above Mayer depending on landing spot. If he did go to the Bengals, whew. I mean, they need more blocking on that line.
Irv Smith's not going to block.
He's not going to leave the field. And you know what? What's better to have a 6'7" guy in the red zone? I mean, you got T, Washington, Jamar Chase, Boyd. Like, that would be a great addition to that team. He's one of the best blockers. People say, hey, maybe his upside might not be
He's
there because
huge.
he could gain weight and
He's
become
just
a
nasty
tackle.
too. Yeah.
Like they said, if he doesn't work out as a receiver, he could gain weight, be 300 pounds, and just be a left tackle or right tackle and get paid more almost. So
Yeah, probably.
that is an actual issue, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be a tight end, and he's probably a late first-round pick.
Yeah. Another guy that's been gaining a lot of steam is Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State, 6'6", 253. Another great athlete here. For him to be the tight end 4, in most years he would be the tight end 1 without some of these guys ahead of him. Again, just another great athletic tight end that is probably going to go. I don't think he'll get first-round draft capital, but I think he's for sure going to go in the second round easily. When you watch Musgrave, James, what did you see from him that you liked? Outside of just like the athleticism that I think really stands out with him.
I mean, he's kind of an all-around player. And
Mhm.
yes, obviously the pass catching has a lot to do with it. I've seen him comp to like a Dallas Goddard archetype. So
Okay.
that's intriguing for fantasy purposes. We may have to weigh a little bit depending on the draft capital that he gets. I think he's mocked to go around the second round. But we'll see. Like, who knows what's going to happen with this draft, because there are needs towards the end of the draft that teams are just may just jump all over. But no, he definitely turned heads at the combine, and I think it put him in the right place to become a tight end starter in the NFL.
Yeah. James and I are in a league where we do a draft very early, and I missed out on a couple big name tight ends. I missed out on Mayer. I missed out on Kincaid, and I think there was one other one. It might have been Washington, but I took Musgrave at 205. Really happy about it, and it's
Yeah.
a tight end premium league. It's a 12-team league. I like Musgrave a lot, and I put down on my notes, if you miss out on Kincaid, this is a great second place because he is a poor man's type Kincaid on tape. So, like you said, Doug, this is gonna be a very good class. And there's one other guy from the tight end U apparently,
That's my guy.
where yeah, people are in love with this guy.
Yeah, and he's not even tight end 5. Currently, it's Tucker Kraft
Yeah,
out of South Dakota
which is-
State.
Massive
BS,
human.
man.
Tucker Kraft is another massive human. Did you know he got offered to Alabama this year, but he said no, thank you. I'm gonna stay with South Dakota.
It says a lot about his character.
Yeah, he wanted to stay home and finish his school, and did they? I think they won the double Division II championship this year. They might have beat
Cannot confirm nor
North
deny that.
Dakota State or North Dakota, but yeah, another massive human.
Yeah, Kraft, and one of my favorite tight ends in this class. And if he goes and drafts at tight end 6, I am gonna be so overweight on Sam Laporta.
Yep.
It's not even freaking funny. Like, if I've got a mid-second round, I'm gonna be the guy in rookie drafts that I'll draft Laporta over other players, and people will look at me and be like, "What are you doing?" Laporta to me is awesome. I think he's a great overall tight end. I love the way he moves. I love his athletic testing. I love the lineage coming from Iowa, where they take guys that are like not high recruits and they go boop and they turn them into these great NFL tight ends like your George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, maybe Noah Fant one day. Although he's a solid player.
7-year
One day.
breakout.
But yeah,
7th-year
so for
breakout.
me, like Laporta, when I watched him at the combine and watching his tape, solid set of hands. He runs great routes. He can do a little bit of everything. And I think he could be a difference maker at the NFL level. So for me, like, I'm in on Laporta over some of the running backs and wide receivers that are typically going in the mid-second round in
I
tight
like
end
that,
premium
yeah.
leagues. Because for me, like, you want to talk about ceiling, tight end premium leagues are no joke. Like, tight ends, they're worth so much. And when you can spend like a mid, maybe even get them in a late second, like, that's best case scenario. That's going to be worth more to me, in my opinion, than any of the running backs or wide receivers that are going in that range in this class.
I think late second is easy because people
Yeah.
don't want to draft tight ends because they're like, oh, they take
I
3 or
think
4
it's-
years.
Here's
This-
my hot take. I think the biggest mistake people are going to make in this year's rookie drafts, especially in tight end premiums, is they are going to discount the tight end position because it's so deep and everyone gets so obsessed with wide receivers and running backs
3rd round running backs, 4th
that
round
it
running
is going
backs.
to produce a absolute ton. If you're a team, a dynasty team, that you are struggling to keep some tight ends together, you can invest capital in this draft and make out like an absolute bandit. I think people are not going to adjust to it. Even if there's 7 tight ends drafted in the first 2 rounds, I don't think it's going to impact ADP all that much. And you can take advantage of this in those leagues. That's my take. People are going to be like, drafting a tight end isn't sexy. They're going to lean towards Zach Evans and they're going to lean towards like Jalen Hyatt. No, I want these tight ends all day long.
So here's where my rankings would go: JSN, Kincaid, Mayer, Addison, Washington, Quentin Johnson. Like the tight ends are almost 20 times better than
These
these
tight
receivers.
ends can be difference makers
Yeah.
for years on your roster. Again, maybe not in year 1, but
And
trust me.
What's the rumors you're hearing in the NFL? Teams want to go 12 personnel. They want 2 tight ends on the field because guess what? People are playing the double high safeties. They're getting rid of that deep ball. And what are you doing? You're running the ball.
Pepper the middle of the field
Yep, you're going to run the ball. You're going to do 2 tight ends and
small slot receivers.
it's going to be awesome. Like these tight ends, I really do hope change the tight end landscape because we are still hoping
We
and
need
praying that we change. And guess what? Kyle Pitts is still younger than almost all these tight ends. I just want to say that.
That's always gonna be
cheapest
Still
you'll-
waiting on him to break out. but
cheapest you'll ever get Kyle Pitts.
Maybe he'll break out this year.
Yeah, and the last couple of guys at tight end 7 and tight end 8 are 2 guys I'm super interested in too. Zach Kuntz, don't mispronounce it, from Old Dominion, 6'7", 255, tested as the best athlete of all time at the combine, the best athlete of all freaking time. What do I tell you guys every year on this podcast? If it's a tight end, you chase the athleticism. I told you last year, go get Chig Okonkwo. He was the most athletic. I said athletic. I keep doing it. I don't care. He's the most athletic tight end.
Doug gets so hot and bothered about tight ends.
I
He
can't speak anymore. I
So the
just,
tight end of your tongue.
I just turned into a puddle. But Chig was a guy that I was like, chase the athleticism. Like, and that's what he goes. Zach Kuntz is that. He's a hyper freak, the most athletic of all time. Like, if he lasts somehow until the mid third round in your rookie drafts,
You know he's going to because
you know he's going to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, I'd rather have insert running back that are all the same.
Isaiah Pacheco hit last year. This could be the Isaiah Pacheco. Guess what? They don't
Right.
happen that often.
No, they don't. So for me, Zach Kuntz and Will Mallory from Miami. Again, he's a little smaller. He's only 239. That's okay. I like Will Mallory a lot too. He's got a lot of good things on tape. He's not going to be that inline blocker, but with this class, there's a lot of guys that can block inline. Mallory is more of that, that I don't want to say Aaron Hernandez, but he's more of a move tight end.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, he's more of a move tight end, and that's okay in the right system. Like, you're going to get Will Mallory in your fourth rounds of rookie drafts easily. And I like him too. This tight end class even goes deeper than that. There's guys that are good. This tight end class to me is like 12, 13 guys deep. And for me, when I have fifth round rookie picks, there's still going to be tight ends that I like, and I'm just going to be smash all day long.
Fifth round, fourth round, quarterbacks and tight ends. That's what you need to know. Like I'm going after them. I'm not going to waste my pick on an undrafted running back just because I'm hopeful. We all had that last year with Kennedy Brooks and players like that. So give me the guy who's actually still on the roster.
What do you mean, you people? I mean,
Who are you talking about, you people?
Yeah.
Kennedy
So-
Brooks is a good one. Thanks,
Kennedy
Al.
Brooks.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, like the tight end class is deep. The wide receiver class is not. So draft wisely because if you do miss out on a tight end, especially in tight end premium, you're going to be kicking yourself.
If you have 5 round drafts and you have 5 picks and you took 3 tight ends, I think you're the smartest man in the room.
Yeah. I do like that. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I'm very excited for this week. It is Christmas week for me. Whew. This is the. Can you guys?
You guys
agree
doing
this is-
anything good for the draft?
I'm going to my buddy's place where it's called Chip Shots. He has
Heard of it.
golf sims. It's a bar. He's got indoor pickleball courts. It's massive. He's got food. It's half off apps, half off pizzas.
Half off pants after 10.
Pretty much. And
Keishawn
so
Boutte is going to show up. It's going to be awesome.
I'm going to be doing that. I'm picking up a friend of mine, and we're going to go there for the draft. Man, I am very excited. It is the first draft that we honestly have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe pick one, we have more of an idea now. But after that, no clue. And I think this is the first year where like anything can happen. Anything can literally happen in this draft. Arizona could trade back. They could stay. Indy could move up. Atlanta Falcons could move up for quarterback.
There'll be some surprises, just like, A.J. Brown getting traded last year. There's
Yep.
going to be something.
Yep, like Brandon Ayuk and Rashad Bateman are my 2 targets where I think they could get traded to a different
Hopkins
team.
might get moved.
Hopkins could
Oh,
get
he
moved.
A lot of
should
veterans.
definitely get moved.
I'm
Arizona needs to
guessing
blow it up.
Henry will probably get moved with the rumors.
Interesting. Yeah. James, what do you got going on for the draft?
Absolutely sitting in front of the TV and just chilling out. And
What are you ordering for food?
I don't know yet. It's a good question.
That is a good. It's something to think about.
You've
You
got some days
time.
to think about it. I will be driving to New York on Thursday, and I'll be at Buffalo Wild Wings with 12 of my closest friends from Rochester, New York, where I lived for
They're
a
all
few years.
boneless wings.
Yeah, they're all
12 of his closest
boneless
friends.
and 12 Sam Adams summer. Hopefully they have it on tap already. But no, I'll be there on Thursday, and then Friday I'll be going to my buddy Tony's house like I do every year and getting a garbage plate. If you don't know what that is, please
Oh,
Google
yeah.
it and pray for my stomach.
I know
And then
from Doug.
I'm not watching the draft Saturday this year. I've decided that like Saturday the last couple of years has not been great, so I'm going to go and do an activity. I think I'm going to go hiking on Saturday, and I'll catch the alerts on my phone. I don't need to be there for it this year. I'm just invested in Thursday and Friday this year. I've learned from my past regressions.
And we have rookie draft starting Saturday, Doug. Woo!
Yes, we do.
Yes.
So I'll be on my phone getting all the noties.
Make sure
Sunday.
you're in cell range climbing
Yep.
those mountains.
We
I
got-
got 24 hours to make a pick.
I got a couple of rookie drafts starting Saturday at
I'm in no
7.
rush.
Sunday
Tyler,
at
make your
8 a.m.
pick.
Sunday at 8 a.m. I will be on the clock with our comic book league we're all in.
Wait,
Uh,
what?
Yep,
Go
101.
ahead, you too, James.
And Monday I've got a couple, and then the Monday after I got a couple.
I will say this. I'm glad I traded my first round pick in the leagues that I was competitive, because I was looking at it today, some of the deals I made. I traded what ended up being the 112 for T. Higgins. Oh, God.
Wow.
How happy am I?
Yeah, that's a steal. I'd rather have T. Higgins than any receiver in this class.
100%.
I have
So,
a good pick
like-
in that league, don't I?
That's the
You
thing
should,
is,
yeah.
is if you aren't comfortable with the last pick, we gave you some 2020 rookies to look at. Even go back further and
2022 rookies, Tyler.
2022 rookies,
Jesus.
even 2020 rookies. Hell, I'd get DeAndre Swift for a late first right now, even with the kind of news like Swift is dropping.
Put your money where your mouth is.
I-
UDPL, send me an offer.
I love
J.K.
Swift.
Dobbins or DeAndre Swift right now?
I'd rather have Swift.
Swift.
Pass catching, the
Swift.
certainty in the
He's
offense.
the better player.
Certainty in the offense. You don't know if Lamar's going to be there. So
Swift.
I do like Dobbins though for a comeback. Hopefully he can get
I
his
like
peg
Dobbins
leg.
for a good
Hopefully he
comeback.
can get his peg leg worked up.
Yeah. I mean,
Just give him
he's
some time.
recharging it.
Recharging it.
Yeah, the draft is going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad that we're all going to be watching. I'm sure we'll have some chat on our text threads going during the draft
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. We'll all be connected. We can all share those oh shit moments as they go down, like we always do, and that'll be a lot of fun. We all have different teams that we root for. So James will be looking for the Giants, Tyler with the Falcons and the Vikings. I'll be seeing what the hell the Patriots do. Hopefully get a lineman. They'll probably trade back and piss me off.
A
but, like,
D3
whatever.
lineman.
Cole Strange's son. What? Like
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yeah, the multiverse of madness is where I'll be for sure.
If they
Freaking
draft a
ridiculous.
receiver, I think everybody will die. If they took JSN, I think the whole world would erupt. But
I don't think he's going to be there at that point.
low key, I like
I
that
have the
spot.
104.
I like that spot for JSN because Mac Jones. What
No,
is he
they'll
gonna
be
do?
benders and go with Quentin Johnston, and I will literally jump off the roof of Buffalo Wild Wings onto like a parking sign.
Like that gif where he jumps out of the building when he's
Game
in
of
the
Thrones?
meeting. Yes.
I'll be like Game of Thrones. I'll be like, what's his name there? King Joffrey, and just be like, yoink.
King Joffrey's brother. Yeah.
Yeah, just terrible. Well, before we go, I did want to give a shout out to Dynasty Nerds. If you're doing some late prep, go to dynastynerds.com, sign up for the Nerd Herd. They've got Prospect Film Room, Prospect Scores, Dynasty GM. There's Trade Tools. There's an extra Nerd Herd episode. When you use code DHH, you will save 15% on any subscription. And the weather's getting warmer. You know, you're going to be outside more. You got to throw a nice cap on, a t-shirt. Maybe it's a little chilly. You throw a sweatshirt on like me. Go on Viridian Global, like James is rocking right now, and get yourself a Dynasty Happy Hour sweatshirt. Thank you in advance for doing that. Guys, I can't wait to come back on Sunday. I'll be here for the podcast, and we can talk about this draft and unpack all the data that we have, because a lot of this is where's the draft capital going to be, and it's going to tell us a lot like it does every year. So I'm excited to unpack that with you guys on next Sunday. So until then, this has been the Dynasty Happy Hour. Enjoy the draft. Hopefully your team drafts well, and we'll see you next week on DHH.